everyone, and welcome to your class today, which is a 1-hour deep stretch to help release your back and hips. So I know a lot of us struggle with lower back pain in general, really tight hips. So we're going to practice today to lengthen these muscles, create space within the body, and just try to release some of that tension and tightness that we're holding that's in our body today. So for this class, all you need is your mat, but again, if you do have your props, feel free to grab them. You can use them for support in our poses. This is a slower style class. We'll be holding our poses for a little longer to really get into the deep connective tissues and help lengthen those muscles. So just getting started, we're going to lie on our backs in opening Shavasana. Just taking a few moments to really arrive on our mat. Beginning to draw the focus inward towards ourself, letting go of any distracting thoughts, allowing the face to soften and the eyes to close. Just taking these first few moments for grounding, to center the mind and the body. And just allow us to be present, forgetting any scenarios that may be playing in our head, forgetting any events that may have happened earlier in our day, our week. And just allow yourself to be here, to be present, and focus on yourself. We give so much of our time to other people, to our jobs, to our families, our friends. That it's always nice to take an hour or so out of our day to just focus on ourselves. Taking this time for self-love, self-care. With every exhale, feeling yourself sink a little deeper into the mat, releasing any hold within the body, and beginning to soften the face, the shoulders, and the belly. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Nice deep inhales and complete exhales. We're going to use our breath as our guide in our practice, moving in and out of the pose with our breath, and softening and lengthening and deepening the poses with our breath. If the mind begins to wander, those distracting thoughts begin to make their way into the mind, just focus on our inhales and our exhales till we come back to center, come back to the present moment, where all that matters is our breath and our movement during our practice. Remember to listen to your body as we flow. If there's any pinching, pulling, or pain, please just come into the pose a little, or find a pose that works for you. We can always find our child's pose if something just isn't working for us today. And always remember we have the option to take our modification. We're going to take 3 more belly breaths here. One more inhale. Exhale. Bringing awareness back into the body and onto our mat. We'll just start to awaken our body, wiggling our fingers and our toes. Rotating wrists and ankles. Gently rock the head side to side. Coming back to center, we're going to inhale, sweep the arms up overhead, pointing the toes in the opposite direction. Just finding a nice full body stretch here. And then as we exhale, we'll release. With our next breath in, we're bringing our right knee into the chest for our wind reliever pose. We'll wrap the hands around that right shin, pulling the knee to the center of the chest and keeping both feet flexed. So if we are experiencing any pinching or pulling in the lower back, we'll plant that left foot onto the mat just to alleviate the sensation. From here, we could begin to roll that right ankle in one direction, just awakening the joint, maybe feeling some creaks and pops within that ankle joint. And then we'll rotate in the opposite direction. We'll find center, flex the toes towards our face, and beginning to rock the knee outwards to open the hip, and then back to center. We'll inhale to open that hip out. Exhale, center, one last round. We'll inhale to open that right knee out to the right side and hold here for 3 deep breaths. Keeping that right foot flexed. We're opening that right hip, creating space, just warming the body. So find nice deep breaths here. Inhaling and exhale back to center. Bring the left hand to the right side of the knee. We'll open the right arm out to a T. We're going to inhale at center, and as we exhale, cross the right knee over to the left side for a half spinal twist, keeping the shoulder blades grounded here. The gaze is centered or over the right shoulder. Finding a nice gentle half spinal twist. 3 beautiful breaths. Last inhale. And exhale, coming back to center, keeping that right knee into the chest. We're going to take our hands, wrap it around that right thigh. We'll inhale nice and deep. And as we exhale, straighten the right leg, kicking the heel into the ceiling, flexing the toes towards the face. So a lot of times back pain is related to tight hamstrings, tight legs. So during this class, we will be stretching out the hamstrings as well to help target that back pain and to release the tightness. So if we are feeling tight in that right leg, keep a generous bend into the knee as we work on lengthening the muscle. We're going to find 3 more belly breaths here. Inhaling, filling up the belly, the ribs, and the chest. And exhale to release from the chest, the ribs, and the belly. 2 more breaths at your own pace. So taking a deep inhale, lengthen. And exhale to release, bringing that right leg down to meet the left. Taking a moment here, just noticing and becoming aware of the sensations, the feelings running through that right leg, that right side. And just keeping this feeling into our awareness, noticing if we created space, length. And with our next inhale, we're going to bring that left knee into the center of the chest and wrap our hands around the left shin. So again, our feet are flexing towards the face. Really hugging that left knee to the center of the chest for our wind reliever pose, with the option to plant the right foot onto the mat if we are feeling any pinching or pulling in the low back. So from here, we want to rotate the left ankle in one direction, just noticing any creaks, any pops here on the side. And then we'll rotate in the opposite direction. We'll find center, flex the toes towards the face, and we're going to find that movement within that left hip. So as we inhale, we'll open the left knee out to the left side, keeping the foot flexed, and exhale back to center. We'll inhale to open out to the left side, exhale center. Last one, we'll inhale to open and hold here, keeping the shoulders grounded. That left foot is flexed, protecting the knee, keeping everything activated. And we're sending the breath to the left hip for 3 deep, beautiful breaths. Beginning to feel the opening and the space being created within that hip as we open and stretch. Coming back to center, we're going to take the right hand to the outside of our left knee, open the left arm out to a T. We'll inhale at center and exhale to cross the left knee over to the right side of the body for a half spinal twist. So again, we want to keep our shoulder blades grounded here, feeling this twist into our low back, into the shoulders. And we can bring our gaze over the left shoulder for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale, coming back to center. Bringing the hands behind that left thigh. We'll inhale with a bent knee, and as we exhale, we'll straighten the left leg, kicking the heel into the ceiling as we flex the toes towards our face. So again, we're stretching the back of that left leg, stretching the hamstrings. Everything is connected so that this will help to alleviate back pain as well. And again, if we are feeling tight, keep a generous bend into that left knee as we work on lengthening the muscle. And we'll hold here for another 3 deep belly breaths. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale to release. Bring the left foot down to meet the right. We'll just take a few moments here, a breath or two, to notice how that left side is feeling. Taking a moment to embrace the sensations. And whatever we're feeling in that left side, just keeping it into our awareness, noticing how these movements are making our body feel. Inhaling and exhaling. So we're going to plant the feet on the mat, hip distance apart. As we inhale, we're going to cross that right ankle over the left thigh, opening that right knee towards the top of our mat as we keep the right foot flexed. So our reclined pigeon. So it's okay if we stay here. This might be enough of a stretch for us today, especially if we're feeling tight within the hips. But if we did want to go deeper, we can take our hands thread it through, grabbing the left thigh and pulling the left knee towards the chest. So if that left foot is off the mat, we're keeping the foot flexed. We have the option to take a rock side to side here, but we're really trying to open that right side and that right hip. So option to push that right elbow into the right thigh to open the hip just a little deeper. And we're going to hold for 5 deep, beautiful breaths. And inhale. And exhale, we'll release. Coming down onto the mat. We're going to keep the feet in that position and then cross that right leg completely over the left. Stacking the knees. We'll bring our arms into a cactus or a T. Finding another spinal twist here. We're going to shift the hips to the right and allow the knees to fall to the left. Remember to keep the shoulder blades grounded. Option to gaze center over the right shoulder. Nice, deep, beautiful breaths. Relaxing and surrendering to our shapes today on our mat. We're going to take one more deep, beautiful breath here on this side. Before coming back to center, readjusting the spine and uncrossing the legs. So we're bringing the feet back to hip distance apart, and we're going to show that same love to the opposite side of our body. So as we inhale, float the left ankle up and over the right thigh, making that figure 4 with the legs coming into our reclined pigeon. So we really want to open that left knee towards the top of our mat as we keep the left foot flexed. So again, if this is enough, feel free to stay here. Everybody's body is different and you'll notice changes in your body day to day. So if we did want to go a little deeper, threading the hands through, grabbing the right thigh and pulling the right knee towards the chest. Again, if that left or the right foot is off the mat, we want to keep both feet flexed. And really opening the hip, option to find a little rock side to side to massage the low back in this pose. But wherever we are, we're finding our breath, softening the face. And just really surrendering yourself, your body, your mind to this pose. We'll take one more breath here. And we'll release the right foot down onto the mat, keeping that right foot planted. We're going to cross the left leg completely over the right, stacking the knees. Our arms come out to a cactus or a T. We'll shift the hips to the left and allow the knees to fall to the right, taking a supine twist here. So again, we want to keep our shoulder blades grounded. Our gaze is centered or over the left shoulder, finding our deep, beautiful breath. Breathing into the back. And as we exhale, maybe twisting just a little deeper. one last breath here on this side. And we'll come back to center, readjust the spine, uncross the legs. We're going to bring both knees into the chest, wrap our hands around the shins, finding a gentle rock side to side, massaging the low back. And when you are ready, bringing the hands behind the thighs, rolling up and down the length of the mat, 3 to 5 times. Massaging the full length of our spine before rolling up and over into a seated position. So we're going to keep our legs extended here, and we're going to find our forward fold. So flexing the feet towards the face, we'll inhale to lengthen. Nice tall spine, reaching the crown of the head up towards the sky. And as we exhale, we are going to forward fold, hinging at the hips, rounding through the spine, and allowing the head to fall heavy. So this is a nice stretch for the full back body. The back of the legs, the glutes, the hips, the back, the neck. Just working everything here. And we're going to find 8 beautiful breaths. So with every exhale, maybe folding a little deeper, but just being mindful that we're keeping our feet flexed towards the face. Shoulders are down and away from the ears, allowing the neck to have room. We'll take one more beautiful breath. And walking the hands back towards the body. So I'll face the camera for these next few poses. So we're going to bring the right foot out to the right side and bring the left foot, the bottom of the foot, into the inside of the right thigh. So we're going to set up for head to knee pose. We're taking the chest and squaring it over our right foot. We're going to inhale, lengthen the spine, and exhale, walk the hands forward towards that right foot. So option, just keep the hands onto the earth, or if we could reach, we could wrap it around that ankle, the heel, or take the peace fingers around that big toe. As we exhale, the nose comes down towards the knee. So for this, you will feel a nice stretch in the back of that right leg, but you'll also feel a stretch in the left side of your low back. So just as we exhale, folding deeper, trying not to fidget, and just finding a little relaxation here, focusing on the breath for 5 beautiful belly breaths. And then with our next exhale, we'll sink down and then walk the hands back towards the body. So we're going to bring this stretch on the opposite side. So extend that left foot out to the left side and bring the right foot into the left, inside of the left thigh. So we're going to square the chest over the left leg. Nice tall spine, core is engaged. We're going to inhale, lift the crown of the head towards the sky. And as we exhale, walk the hands down towards that left foot. So again, everybody's different. Maybe we're just planting the hands on the earth. Maybe we can reach the heel, the ankle, or we could bring the fingers around that left big toe. As we exhale, nose comes towards the left knee. And again, you're gonna feel this stretch in the back of that left leg and in the right side of the low back and the hip. And again, we're gonna find 5 beautiful breaths. So really relaxing here, allowing the breath to create space and help you lengthen. So as we exhale, maybe folding a little deeper. As we release, some tightness, some tension. And we're going to take one more belly breath. And we'll walk the hands back towards the body. So this next pose is our Dragonfly Pose. Keeping the left leg where it is, we're going to extend that right leg back out to the right side. So really opening between the legs, the thighs, the hips. Maybe rocking back and forth to feel grounded throughout the glutes and the hips and the legs. We're keeping our feet flexing towards the body. So we are going to fold forward. This is going to be great for the hips, both legs, and the lower back. So we're going to inhale, nice tall spine, actively reach the crown of the head forward. And then as we exhale, begin to walk the fingertips forward. So we may just tent the fingertips and come just a little bit forward, depending on the mobility that we have in our body today. So just working with where you are, maybe we could come down onto the forearms, and maybe we have the space to bring the forehead down. But don't push yourself. Again, if you feel any pinching or pain, just come out of the pose a little bit and hold where you find your edge without surpassing it and causing yourself pain. So we are going to hold here for 10 breaths. So really find some relaxation here. Find your breath and try to relax, softening the face, closing down the eyes, unclenching the jaw. Allow your tongue to fall from the roof of the mouth and just focus on those beautiful inhales and exhales. Again, with every exhale, we're folding a little deeper. We're going to take one more belly breath. And beginning to walk the hands back towards the body. So from here, we're going to bend in the knees and bring the bottoms of the feet to touch, finding our seated butterfly pose. So for our first round of our butterfly pose, because we are going to be doing this twice, we're going to keep the feet a little further away from the body, so the legs are almost more like a diamond shape. From here, we're going to interlace the fingers around the feet. We're going to inhale, nice tall spine, open the chest, And as we exhale, round through the spine and fold forward for 5 breaths. So we really feel this in the hips and the hamstrings, the lower back, the upper back, the shoulders. Just using your breath here. One more inhale and exhale. Coming back up, we're gonna come into deer pose. So if we are facing the long edge of the mat like me, we're gonna take our left foot, or the left leg, the left shin, and make it parallel with the long edge of the mat. Bending in that right knee, the right shin is gonna be parallel with the short edge of the mat. We're keeping our feet flexed. And we're gonna find a twist here in our deer pose. So inhale, extend the spine, and as we exhale, right hand comes to left thigh, left hand comes behind for a twist. So releasing the low back here, we're gonna peel the left shoulder, left chest back, and bring the gaze behind. Finding 3 breaths here in our twist. So this releases our butterfly pose as well. So it's just a pose that counteracts that deep hip opening pose we just did. And we'll take 1 breath in. As we exhale, we'll release and begin to walk forward to fold in that deer pose for 3 breaths. And then walking our hands back towards the body. So from here, we're keeping that left leg exactly where it is. And we're gonna bend into the right knee and bring the bottom of the right foot back to touch the bottom of the left. So we're coming into our butterfly pose again. This time we want to move our feet a little closer towards the body. So this is going to be an even deeper hip opening pose. We're interlacing the hands around the feet. Again, we'll inhale, actively reach the crown of the head up towards the sky. And as we exhale, begin to hinge at the hips, leaning forward with a nice flat back. To open the hips even more, we can press the elbows into the thighs, bringing the knees closer to the earth. And we'll find 5 beautiful breaths here. Just focusing on the breath and feeling that space, that stretch within the hips. And again, we can feel this in our low back as well. So these folds are excellent for our low back and low back pain. We'll take 1 more breath in and exhale. Coming back up, we're going to take that deer pose on the opposite side. So again, if you're facing the long edge of the mat like me, we're going to keep our right leg where it is, with the shin parallel with the long edge of the mat. Then flip that left knee so that the left shin is parallel with the short edge of our mat. Both feet are flexing here. We're going to inhale, nice tall spine, and exhale, take that twist. So left hand comes to right thigh, right hand comes behind us as a kickstand. We're peeling the right chest, right shoulder back, and bringing the gaze behind for 3 breaths. Just really releasing the low back from that stretch, releasing the hips. We're going to take one more beautiful breath in. And exhale to release. Coming forward, we'll find that fold. Walking the hands to center and bringing the forehead towards the earth for 3 deep, beautiful breaths. And we'll begin to walk the hands forward. So from here, we're going to roll up and over into our tabletop position. And we're going to find a few rounds of cat-cow to really help the spine warm up. And just the movements alone are excellent for the back and back mobility. So we want our hips over the knees, shoulders over the wrists. We can keep the toes tucked or flat to the mat, yogi's choice. And the crown of the head reaches forward. So as we inhale, drop the belly, curving up, lifting the hips, lifting the chest and the gaze. And as we exhale, we're pressing into the fingertips, rounding to the spine, gaze looks to the knees. Separating the shoulders. We'll inhale, curve through the belly, lift the hips and the gaze. And exhale, round through the spine. We'll do this 3 more times following your own breath. Inhale. And last round, wherever you are, we'll take a deep inhale and exhale. Coming back to a neutral spine, we're going to begin to walk the hands forward for melting heart pose. So keeping the hips lifted, we can bring the forehead down to the mat, feeling an opening within the shoulders, within the lower back. And if we do have the space, we can begin to bring the chest down and the chin. So we're going to hold here for 5 breaths. Really sending the breath to the shoulders, to the lower back. Nice deep inhales and exhales. Closing down the eyes. Last breath in and exhale out. Walking the hands back towards the body. We're going to bring the knees together, sit the bum back onto the heels, and wrap the hands around the body for a child's pose. Just release the shoulders and the low back. So this is just counteracting that melting heart pose for 3 breaths. And when you're ready, coming back to our tabletop position, we're going to tuck the toes here, inhale. And as we exhale, press into the hands, shooting the hips back for that upside down V shape, our downward facing dog. So just take a moment here, pedal out the legs, really find your alignment here. So externally rotating the arms, pressing into the fingertips, and elongating the spine from the crown of the head to the tip of the tailbone. And just playing around here, finding any wiggles, any movements that make you feel good. Stretching out the hamstrings, often keep a bend into the knees as we work on lengthening the legs. So we'll just hold here for a few more breaths. And when you are ready,
beginning to slowly walk the feet towards the hands. So we're going to find our forward fold. So our standing forward fold is one of the best poses for the low back. So we're allowing the head, the neck to fall heavy. Option to keep a bend into the knees as we work on lengthening the back body. And if we want to, we can take ragdoll. So grabbing the opposite elbows, swaying side to side, nodding the head yes, shaking the head no. Just finding 5 beautiful breaths here. Inhale and exhale. Allowing the head, the neck to fall heavy. And really feeling that nice deep stretch in the back of the legs. Like I say, back pain is often related to having tight hamstrings, having tight legs. So practicing these poses will help alleviate that lower back pain that we all usually feel at some point in our life. Whether we sit at a desk all day, if we're picking up our kids, lifting them up, you know, whatever our daily routine is, it always almost leads to back pain. And we'll take one more inhale and exhale, release the hands. We're going to inhale for a half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, planting the hands. We're going to step back into plank and nice and slow with control, lower down onto your belly. Flipping the bottoms of the feet down, we're going to inhale up for Cobra. So straightening the arms, pressing into the hands, opening the chest, opening the throat, and feeling that nice stretch in the low back. And we'll exhale down. We'll inhale back up to tabletop, bringing these mat distance apart, big toes a touch, and press the sit bones back onto the heels for our child's pose. So this is our last pose of our practice. So just taking a few moments here, coming back to the natural breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just taking a moment here to mentally thank ourselves for rolling out our mat today, for dedicating this time to us, to our practice, and just finding movement, finding breath. Taking this time for self-love, self-care. It is so important to dedicate time out of every single day for this. So we're just going to find 3 more belly breaths here. Really breathing into the hips, the shoulders, the back. Nice deep inhales and exhales. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Inhaling and exhaling. So from here, we'll walk the hands back towards the body, sweep the feet to one side, coming to a nice Sukhasana or easy seated pose. A cross-leg position, shoulders are down and away from the ears. So we're going to take one deep breath together before we end our practice. So take a nice deep inhale, filling up. And exhale, sigh it out. So may the sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the light within you guide you on. Namaste. So I hope you all enjoyed this class today. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. And I hope you all have a great day.